Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Maverick says hello. He's just playing beside me. We found a bunch of his little toys under the stove last night. Jeff took a little stick and pulled them all out, and there was like 15 toys under the stove. So he's very excited. Now he has all his toys back. You want to go play with your toy, buddy? These little balls are some of his favorites. Right? Right? There he goes. Okay. So for today's video, let me just preface this by saying I actually wasn't planning on filming today at all. I woke up, I was like doing some of my work, because today is January 2nd, so I'm officially back to work. I mean, majority of my work is done from home anyway, but I do like to have a bit of a schedule, you know, like, and there's certain expectations that people have, like after the holidays are over, most people are back to work by now, so I try to, you know, kind of work in conjunction with that. So I woke up and I did a little bit of my work, and then once I got that kind of done for the day, I was just watching some YouTube, and I kind of got inspired by some, like usual, a lot of my inspiration for my videos comes from other people on YouTube and some of the video topics that they talk about, and if it's something I feel like I can, you know, have something to speak to about, then, or, you know, something I can contribute to the topic, then I decide to sort of do my own version. So since it was like a last minute decision to try and do a video today, I kind of rushed together my makeup and haven't even showered, and my hair is greasy as hell. So I did what any lazy person like me would do, which is not shower and instead just put in some dry shampoo. So if you see like weirdness going on with my hair, it's because it's dirty. But like whatever, it's fine. And also I kind of just rushed a makeup look together because I wanted to have some makeup on to go on camera, and I didn't really have any kind of like idea in mind for my makeup today. I was just trying to use up like one of my projects for the year is to use up my original chocolate bar palette. So recently I'd been doing a lot of looks with these kind of colors here, like the blue pink kind of things. So I decided today to kind of go a different direction, and I focused on this sort of realm right here, and it turned out like, okay, so I like how the look turned out, but it's very like unseasonal, like, you know what I mean, like it's very fall and like it's January, so I feel like maybe if I was trying to go real like winter themed, I would not you know, do this kind of a look. But now that I see it on, I'm like really digging it for fall. Like it's kind of like orangey green with a little bit of gold on the inner corner. I'll tell you just quickly what I use since it's all entirely from this palette. So I did this white chocolate shade. I think it's called white chocolate, but I don't have the shade names here. For my, just to set my primer and to do up to the brow bone. Then I did this matte orange brown here on like all over my lid and in the crease, and then I went in with this green kind of color for the outer corner, and then I went over the middle part of my lid with this more shimmery, it's basically a shimmery version of this, so I just went over that in the middle, and then on the inner corner I just put a little bit of this gold down here and went over, you know, with a brown eyeliner, some mascara. And that's kind of how I did that. And I kind of think, so I'm also trying to get through a lot of my lip products this year. And I had this lip product. I must have gotten this as a sample because there's no way I bought it myself. It's this Smashbox LA Lights blendable lip and cheek color. And it was the perfect color to go with this look. Like I saw the little part on the back of it and I was like, okay, yes, that's going to look amazing with this. And it does. Like it's like an orangey, peachy kind of thing. And like, basically my entire look right now, I'm just like, this is gonna be my fall look for like this year. So whatever, it is what it doesn't go with the current weather, but I really like how it turned out anyways. And this lip product is like, I love the way it looks, like the color and stuff. Like I think it looks really cute with the look, but it's really like, it's not like a liquid lipstick. It's more of a like a almost kind of like a gloss. Like if I went like and wiped across, it would be all over my face. Like there's no, it's not smudge proof or anything kind of like that. So it's not like my favorite in terms of formula, but you know, it's, sometimes I just use it as a topper because it's like a little bit shimmery, and yeah, I don't know, like I feel like I don't reach for this very often at all, but now that I've like sort of tried out this fall eye thing, I feel like I'm going to get a lot more use out of this because every time I do this eye look, I'm going to reach for this now. Anyway, so that's just a quick little description of that. Oh, and I tried out, you can't really see it on camera. Maybe I go a little too light with my blush and bronzer, but I tried to like contour a little bit today, but can't really tell. It's fine. Okay, getting into the the topic of the video today. So I was kind of inspired by watching some videos. There's like, I guess a sort of like a tag video, like a theme that a lot of YouTubers have done on their channels, which is worst purchases of my 20s, or like there's another version which is best purchases of my 20s and stuff like that. And I thought this would be kind of like a fun one to do because I do feel like I'm gonna just combine them into one video. I think like I'm not gonna do a best and a worst as separate videos, but yeah, I think for me, like, so I'm still in my 20s, so it's not over yet. I might still make an amazing purchase or a terrible purchase in the last couple of years of my 20s, but I do think like compared to a lot of 20 somethings, I'm like pretty responsible with my money for the most part. I know a lot of, especially for like women, I know a lot of women that are around my age that just like are shopaholics and like they just love to splurge on like all kinds of stuff. And I'm not really like that. I don't buy a lot of new things, and a lot of like my entire wardrobe, like I've said in previous videos, is like from the thrift store. That's kind of a more recent thing. Like I never used to only shop at the thrift store. It's just kind of like there happens to be like a really good one near my house now, and I've lived in this house for like, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, and there's a really good thrift store there. So like pretty much everything you ever see me wearing in videos, like including this cute knitted sweater and stuff, is like it's always from the thrift store, and I paid like $3 for it, so that's pretty cool. But I can remember a few purchases. I'm going to start with the worst, and then I'll go into the best purchases of my 20s so far. So I can think of a few things that I'm going to classify as like some of my worst purchases of my 20s. Starting with one that's still a bit of a struggle for me just because I am so addicted to coffee, but I'm going to say the first one is expensive coffees. And I don't really think that's necessarily a problematic purchase if you're doing it like in moderation, but throughout my 20s, like from the early days, like when I was still in college, there was like a Starbucks on campus and stuff like that, and into my early to mid 20s, right up until, honestly, if I'm being real honest with you guys, until like maybe 3 months ago, I have been buying like $5, $6 coffee drinks, like specialty coffees, on like pretty much daily basis, or every other day at least. Back when I lived, before we bought this house, Jeff and I lived in like a condo, and there was a Starbucks right across the street. So like first it was like in my campus in college, and then it was like across the street when Jeff and I lived in the condo. And so it started out because of the convenience, I think, but then it became habitual. And then when we moved here, there is no Starbucks unless you drive like 20 minutes away. And I was still kind of doing that drive. Like I would drive 20 minutes away to get like a good coffee and stuff, because at that point it had like become kind of a habit. So in itself, like I think purchasing like an expensive coffee like as a one-off is like obviously not a big deal, but I shudder at the thought of how much money has gone out the door if I were to add up a $5 coffee. Let's go conservative and say a $5 coffee every other day for 5-6 years. That really adds up. Like that adds up to a lot of money. So that would be one major regretful, like bad purchase that I've made in my 20s. I do still occasionally, I don't like completely cut out nice coffees. Like I still occasionally go, if I'm passing a Starbucks or something, I will stop, but I don't go out of my way anymore to go and get Starbucks. Like you guys have probably noticed in a lot of my videos, I'm sipping coffee because I make it at home now, and it's not as good, but you know what? I'm saving a shitload of money, so it's better in the long run. The next like regretful purchase, I guess I would say, is I guess I would say my wedding as a whole. I mean, not that I regret having a wedding, like I would still want to have a wedding, but the amount of money that I spent on my wedding was like a little bit more than necessary. And I think if I were to do it again, I would do it on a smaller scale. Like we had about 75 people or so at our wedding, and a lot of those people like were like college friends, or you know, just coworkers, or like people like that, where it's like, yeah, it was fun that they were there and I don't regret having them there, but it's like a lot of them I've lost touch with at this point, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like hindsight is 2020, I guess. And if I were to go back, I would maybe do my wedding for maybe a smaller number of people, like maybe about 40 to 50 people instead of 75, and just really focus on like my close friends and family, and that's it. And that would have saved us a lot of money there too. So that's kind of like another negative. But yeah, I don't really have like a ton of other really bad purchases to like report to you guys. Like I said, I'm pretty financially savvy. Like I've never really worked a job ever until today, even still, that has actually been like a pretty good paying job. So I'm kind of used to I'm very used to having like a very low paying job, but I can make it work for me. And it's almost like a lifestyle. Like you get used to when you work. Up until like a couple of years ago, I was working minimum wage. And so when you're working minimum wage, you just kind of have a different idea of like what you can afford and what you can't afford. And when you work minimum wage, you pretty much can't afford anything. So you start to just make smarter choices, I guess, or at least I did. I mean, maybe not everybody on minimum wage makes the smartest choices, who knows, but that's personally how I looked at it, because I knew that, you know, money was going to be tight for the foreseeable future. So okay, so now I'm going to talk about like some of the best purchases I made in my 20s. And the first one is kind of cheating, because I obviously couldn't afford it on my own, but the purchase of our home, like Jeff and I combined purchased, I mean, mostly him, but you know, like now that we're married, we sort of, you know, what's mine is yours kind of thing. So I count it as kind of like one of my own purchases too. And like I think the decision to invest in a house was one of the best decisions that we could have made, because it's something that's not gonna decrease in value unless we completely destroy this place. And it's something that is kind of like money in the bank. I mean, there are some rare circumstances where like, you know, a house will completely lose value, but I don't think that's going to happen in the area that we live. And it's something I can appreciate as we're paying for it by living in it, like as opposed to paying rent where you're just saying bye-bye to that money forever. Paying a mortgage just feels a lot better, because you know the money is not like completely gone, because you do own the house at the end of the day. So that would be definitely one that I strongly encourage. Like if you're in your 20s and you're debating whether or not to buy a house or what, I think the sooner you can get into the housing market, the better, because you're gonna have to, like, you have to live somewhere. So you're gonna be either paying rent or paying a mortgage no matter what. Like you need to pay to live no matter where it is. And like, why not put that money towards something you can sell at the end of the day, like something you own, versus just funneling it into somebody else's pocket and having no return on that. So I think like buying a house is always a smart decision. Well, for the most part. I mean, obviously there's some exceptions, and you need to have like enough of a down payment that you're not just like totally house poor. But yeah, that was probably the smartest purchase I've made in my 20s. And the next one is another kind of a big one. It would be buying my first car. So I was kind of like late to the party with getting a car. Like a lot of my friends already had a car, like even like right out of high school they had a car, or in college they had cars. Like I never had owned a car in high school, in college, none of that. I took public transit like all throughout college and afterwards, and even up until we like moved to this house, like, which was only like 3 years ago, I didn't have a car, which was really holding me back in terms of employment opportunities, because like that's kind of one of the reasons why I had to work like a minimum wage job, because I was limited to only what was within walking distance or busing distance from where I lived. And getting a car just opened up so many doors for me. Like, I could finally really go full steam ahead and pursue my photography career, because a lot of the time prior to having the car, it was like I would still be working on that career, but like anytime I had somebody asking if I could, you know, photograph an event or whatever, I'd have to talk to Jeff and figure out like, can I use the car that day, and how's he gonna get to work, and like, because he had a car, so we kind of like sort of already had like one vehicle, but like we were sharing it, and he works full time, so it was basically his car because he was the one going to work every day, and he couldn't walk or take public transit to his work. So getting my own car really gave me so much more freedom and independence and ability to just take on a lot more work. So it's almost like paid for itself in the amount of work I've been able to do as a result of just having mobility. So that also I feel like was a smart purchase, because the first car I got, I didn't go crazy. Like, I think a car can be a good purchase or a bad purchase depending on whether you go crazy with it. Like, I'm very minimalist when it comes to my car. Like, I just want something that's going to get me from A to B. I don't need like fancy like heated steering wheel and like all those like added bonus features like sunroof and all that, like whatever else it is that people like to pay extra for with cars. I'm just kind of like, is it reliable, is it safe, and is it going to get me where I need to go? That's basically, is it like, I like prioritize things like fuel efficiency, because that's again going to factor into the amount of money I spend on transportation. If it's a gas guzzler, then it's going to like end up costing me more in the long run, stuff like that. But I don't really care about the luxury aspects of cars. So the first car I bought was a Chevy Cobalt. It was a used car. It had over 100 and something kilometers on it. I don't know what you guys go by in the States, miles, I guess. But yeah, it had a pretty substantial amount of use. It was like a 2009, I think. So it was like a 10-year-old car, or 9-year-old car at the time I bought it. And it only, like, I had it for a year, and I've since upgraded to another car. But point is, like, for the amount of money I spent on it, I think I paid about $6,000 for that car. And like, for me, that was like a pretty good purchase, because it was reliable, like it was functional. It wasn't like I didn't have to finance it, like I paid for it outright, and I didn't have car payments. So, and then it brought me so much more opportunity in terms of work. So for me, that was like the second like really good purchase I made in my 20s, smart purchase I made in my 20s. Yeah, so there's been many other purchases I made that were like pretty smart, pretty dumb, like lots of stuff in between, but those are like the major ones, the things that I spent like a pretty significant amount of money on, and how I feel about that looking back now that the money is gone, whether it was a good choice or a bad choice. So hopefully this kind of maybe helped you guys if you're struggling with how to manage your money, or even if you just like found it relatable. Like, I know I'm not the only one who goes and gets Starbucks way more than I should, or used to anyways, still kind of do it a little bit, but yeah, so maybe comment below and let me know what was your best and like single best and single worst purchase of your 20s, if you're in your 20s. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. So I might film one more video today now that I've kind of gotten ready, even though I've got the grossest hair ever. I feel like I should make the most of it and maybe like pre-film a little bit more so that I have some videos for you guys coming up. But for now, I will see you in the next video. Please give me a like and a subscribe. I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. It's a lofty goal, but for me, but at the same time, like pretty modest for YouTubers in general. So I would just really like to get to 1,000. That would just be amazing for me. So help me out, please help us out. I will see you in the next video, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.